we'll give it morning and then we'll get going. Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you are from. Welcome to one more webinar from Progress India. This is a series of webinars that we do almost second, third, fourth Thursdays, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. India Standard Time. We try to cover as much as developer-oriented topics. It can be generic or what we have here in progress. Today we're going to be looking at how do you consume a Salesforce data in your ASP.NET. That's the theme of today's webinar. I think I put the date wrong, so I'm going to correct it later. So that's the theme of the webinar. Well, I forgot to put Anant, your bio. So, okay, so we have probably when you start doing the demo, you should put your bio, Anant, so I forgot. So that's me. That's me who behind the mic. So my name is Lohit. I work as technical evangelist in Progress India. I'm also a Microsoft MVP. That's my email ID, official email ID, and that's my short URL. When Anant does his portion of the demo, I think he's going to put his bio there. So the problem for today that we wanted to discuss was pretty much what we discussed in previous webinar. In the previous webinar, what I did was the same concept, but I showcased how you can do it with Node.js, meaning I have a node, I want to build a node app which is connecting to Salesforce, and then how do I visualize that in all the stuff. So screen is not refreshing. I think, sorry about that. So let me come back. Thank you very much for whoever gave me that. So I am not sharing my screen. Okay, there we go. So consuming Salesforce data in your ASP.NET, as I said. So thank you for those of you who did question me on, the screen is not able to, you're not able to see the screen. So I forgot to share the screen. Sorry about that. So today it's been a little chaotic for me. Busy day. So consuming Salesforce data in your ASP.NET. That's me, and I am also joined today by Anant. So probably Anant takes over his portion. He's going to do his bio, and my name is Lohit. As you can see here, that's how I look. And then I'm a technical evangelist with Datadirect in India, or Progress in India. That's my official email ID. So today's problem, so typically when we do this kind of webinars, we do go behind a problem and a solution kind of an approach. So today's problem that we're going to talk about is, okay, I have a cloud data, meaning Salesforce, and I want to transform that and then build probably an ASP.NET web application for internal use or whatever it is, so that I can so Salesforce has its own UI, Salesforce has its own portal, right? So probably I don't want to always go there. I want to quickly check certain things. Like for example, how many types are there? Opportunities are there by the types, or how many opportunities are there by the stage. I want to quickly get a graph like this, and then I don't want to always get into Salesforce and then do a login and all those stuff. But I just want to quickly build something, and I am a ASP.NET developer, and I know ASP.NET, and I want to make use of ASP.NET, connect to Salesforce, get the data, and then do that. So Salesforce does have its own REST API, so that calls for you writing very, very code which is centric around Salesforce SDK and all those stuff. So my approach today is going to be completely different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make use of Odata. Odata is a protocol, data exchange protocol that Microsoft came up with during 2010 timeframe, and I'm kind of big proponent of Odata. If you ask me what kind of API can I build for, if I'm building a product, I would say probably go to the route of Odata, because with Odata what happens is a lot of power is given to the client, and producer does not have to do like, get user by ID, get user by department, get user by that. We all have written those kind of API calls or API methods where somebody comes in and says, oh, you know what, I want to search an employee now by an ID, or I want to search an employee by department. Or what do? You go ahead, you put up another method, all those things. But with OData, what happens is OData gives you the power to query over the URI, meaning I can just say over the HTTP URI, my endpoint, I can do $select, meaning within the data, I don't want every column, but here is the column list that I want, so give me that. Dollar order by, so meaning in the data that's coming back, please order it by so and so column. Dollar filter, so that's nothing but, hey, when you're reading the data, I want you to filter it based on city equal to Bangalore or something like that. So now the consumer has the power to actually send all this stuff instead of the producer doing everything, right? So that's why I like Odata. So currently Odata is at V4. It's becoming, I mean, it is OSS, the standard for all these things. He is actually, Anand, did you say something? Okay, so that's what Odata is all about, and that's what we will be using. So now you may be asking, okay, that's fine. So how does a Salesforce data look like, right? So in the Salesforce, what we have is, this is what we're going to be looking at today. I'm going to keep it very simple, wherein, I'm going to say that I'm going to look at accounts or probably leads and then opportunities. So these are three main things that every marketeer or, the Salesforce, if you're using Salesforce, this is where you typically go and then start looking at things. I have my leads get converted into probably accounts, and then from the account you have an opportunity, or I don't know how they do it, but for me, there's a lead, there's an account, there's an opportunity. So that's what we will be using, and then we will make use of these data to build up our stuff. So what is the solution that I'm proposing, or we are proposing today, is basically at Progress, we have a data connectivity software. We call it as Datadirect, and then it has two flavors. I think Anant will talk about more on those kind of what exactly is Datadirect drivers and Datadirect Cloud. But the solution is this. I have an on-premise solution, right? My application is currently typically running on my laptop, so I consider myself as being on-premise, and I need a single interface over ODBC or a JDBC or OData. In this case today, I'm going to be using OData the REST way. And then I want to connect to Salesforce, and I don't want to write that particular service, which is OData service. So what we'll do is we'll use Datadirect Cloud, and we will pretty much we will show you how using Datadirect Cloud without writing any code, you can expose whatever you're seeing on the right hand side, Salesforce, Oracle, Google Analytics, Oracle, Elaqua, Marketo, you name it, data store, we will be able to connect and then expose. I think DDC has a list of stores that it can connect to and expose as a OData. So that's what Anant is going to be doing a demo, and then I'll come back and then I'm going to see how to integrate that with ASP.NET. So now if you're asking about what is OData, well, let me just quickly kind of explain you what is a OData. So OData is nothing but a protocol. It's a data exchange protocol. So typically you use JSON as a data payload. Here also the JSON is the payload, but how you exchange data is through this protocol called as OData, or open data as it's called as. It's an open protocol to allow the creation and consumption of queryable and interoperable RESTful APIs in a simple and standard way. So Microsoft came up with this, and OSS has actually kind of now embracing this, and then that's how we are having at V4, the version 4 of OData is what the current industry standard. And DDC also exposes OData, but DDC is going to be exposing OData V1 way. That is, we still haven't updated the Datadirect Cloud to be at the V4. We will be doing it probably next year. But now it's a V1 is fine. V1 has certain shortfalls, like you cannot do aggregation, you cannot do grouping. That's fine. I'll show you how you can pretty much get the the grouping, everything done client side, meaning you go get the data and then do it in your ASP.NET and then expose that as a JSON data again, right? So that's what OData is all about. So if you want to know more about OData, what you can do is you can always go to odata.org. So that is the official website for OData. And here it has all the information as to getting started, documentation, libraries, and what they have done is they have kept certain services, or what we call as reference services. So here is a trip pin service. So what I can do is I can actually go copy this guy and then come back to another tab and then do this. Well, let me do this. I'm going to go do this in a Postman. So Postman is nothing but a RESTful client. So notice here I just said services.odata.org trip in restier service / people, and now notice I'm getting all the people data in JSON format, right? Now I can say I can do a couple of stuff here. I can say, hey, what's the count of data that I have? So I can just say /$count. So let me zoom in for you. So that's what you can do, $count, and then I do that, and you see it says 20. So that means, I don't have to worry about doing a collection count or anything. You just do $count and you get that. Not only that, I can say $take one, or $take is equal to, or sorry, $top is equal to 5. So that means give me only, just give me a second. I need to do a question mark here. So I get only 5 now, as you can see here, I'm getting only 5. So 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, and then 5, because I said give me 5, right? That's the whole concept here. If I want to know the total count in all the pages, what I can do is I can say $inline count is equal to all pages. So now what happens is it's going to give me the count of data that is there in the database or in my system, right? Take a look at this. So this is the 5. Okay, I think this is V4. So V4 is $inline count is equal to all. Let me check. So I'm missing that parameter, what needs to be provided. I'll let you know that. I forgot on the top of my head. So I can say $skip. So let's say stop 1. So what I can do now is I can say $top is equal to 1, $skip is equal to 1. So that means skip the first one, give me the second one. So that's what this means. So now I'm getting only Clyde guess. I can say skip 5 and then take 5. So this is how you do paging in OData. Very simple. $top and $skip. Let's say I want to get a very particular user, right? So let's take an example of a single entity, right? So if you see here, Russell White is the row ID or the primary ID of that particular row. So I can just say, hey, give me that guy. And now you get only that guy, right? And then now I can say, hey, give me username. And it gives me Russell White. Probably when I'm reading Russell White, what I want is I want couple of fields. So I will say user name, first name, last name, probably gender, and then it is all case sensitive, so he will not give you back. So I just want this much, right? I can just do this. Take a look at that. Now I get only what I need. It's not everything that's coming back, but only what I need. So this is the power of OData. I like OData because of this querying feature that we have, or queryable feature that we have. So that's a quick intro on OData. There's a bunch of things that you can do. As you can see here, I just want to get the raw value. I can come back here and then do this. I can say user name / $value, and I will get just the text, right? Compare this to SOAP. Well, SOAP is in order to just get this text, SOAP will have a lot of headers. SOAP will have a envelope, all those things. So OData is completely, standard now, and then simple formats. and this is how you exchange data over OData. And this is what we will do today for the Salesforce. Anant is going to showcase our product Datadirect Cloud, and using Datadirect Cloud you can build OData for any connector, any data store without writing a code. You just get into Datadirect Cloud, you connect to your data source and say, now I want to expose my data source as a OData. That's it, you are done, and you will get the same features that I showcased you in OData now. So now I hand it over to Anant to go over the Datadirect Cloud. He's going to explain this, and then I'll come back and then I'll show you how you use the OData created in the Datadirect Cloud to create a web application. Over to you, Anant. I'll make you the presenter.
Sure. So hope everybody is able to see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
So yeah, sure. Thanks, Lohit. So just to kind of give a brief about myself, so that's me. I'm a big Lego fan, so I'm a solution consultant for Progress. I manage all the Progress. So we have a couple of flavors on the Datadirect side. So we have the drivers, which generally are on-prem. You install, you connect to different data sources, and we also have the cloud-based version, which is what I'm going to demonstrate, the Datadirect Cloud version, wherein we make it really easy for you to kind of install the, connect the source, and then without any configuration to your firewall, you're able to access whatever sources you want. One of the good features about let me just go over here. So the main features include, you don't have to change anything on the firewall side. So connectivity wise, we give lots of options. So you have different data stores, NoSQL, SQL, big data, everything we have available. You have a single interface to connect, and then the choice of the protocols really, as what Lohit mentioned, makes it easy for you. So ODBC is a standard, JDBC is standard, and of course OData through REST is also standard. And we take care of all the hosting of the system itself. So all this is hosted on Amazon, so it's highly available, and it's also cost effective. You don't have to define drivers. For example, in this example, we're going to talk about Salesforce. So when you do bulk updates, we take care of the batching for you. So you don't have to do the batch component where you will hit your API calls. That we take care of on the Datadirect side. So let me just quickly head over to Datadirect. So as you can see, we have different. This is the pricing mechanism, and also this is where you can find the connector. So just to give a head. Datadirect site. So head on to login.datadirectcloud.com, and I'm going to log in as myself. Sorry, I'm just going to. Oops, that's not good. Hang on a second. Okay, we're back. So this is how the dashboard looks like when you go in. So here you have the dashboard where it tells you what's your usage like and how many SQL statements you can write. So for example, we make it easy for you to write SQL statements against the Salesforce connector you have. So you don't have to write SOQL, which is the Salesforce proprietary SQL language. From a data source perspective, so let me show you what our data source we have. So we support all these data sources. We support Salesforce, Oracle, you have the Big Shift, Redshift, Amazon on Web Services. We have Hadoop. So any Hive source that you have on, be it HD Insight, be it on AWS EMR, we support. And we support Postgre and MySQL, and MySQL is on the enterprise version side. And also these are a couple of beta stores that we have added recently. So let me show you how to create a data source. So you go here, let's choose Salesforce as the example here. So here you give a name of the data source, the description. Note you'll have to give the security token which Salesforce gives you for authentication. So for the purpose of speeding this up, I have actually created a data source here, which is my Salesforce instance. So through this, I am able to kind of access, so one second. So it's saying the testing is good. Now let's look at the Odata configuration. So now what we are doing is we are enabling, we are fetching the schema from Salesforce and we are able to expose all the objects as Odata sources. So I can pick and choose what I want. In this case, I am enabling only accounts and opportunities, which is what I really want to share, and expose that as an Odata service. And what you can do is now you can take any Postman client and use Postman to access these objects through Odata format. Also, you can query the data source through SQL. So I'm going to say, so here I get my schema. So here you have access to all account data. So here you are able to execute a SQL query. Let me see if I have any SQL queries. Let's try this. From my Salesforce instance. Without having to write SQL, I'm just able to use plain old standard SQL to fetch data. Over to you, Lohit. So Lohit will demonstrate how Kendo, you're able to use Kendo UI with this example to do beautiful dashboards.
Thanks, Anant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into my DDC now. I'm going to just showcase you. So when I have the credentials created, so we do have a trial of Datadirect Cloud for 30 days. If you want to take a look at that, play around, and then you can do completely whatever we're doing. We give you the complete data sources that Anand showcased. So I have done the same thing. So in my account, what I've done is I've created this particular data source connected to my Salesforce. As you can see here, Salesforce, and then my username of Salesforce, my password, my security token from there. And then I also created the mapping. So now in order to access this particular basically the OData that's created. So Anand showcased how to create the OData. So I've done the same thing. What I've done is I've exposed leads, accounts, and then opportunities table from my Salesforce as a OData. If I take this particular OData, in order to connect, notice we also give you a secured layer, right? It's HTTPS endpoint. So in order to connect to this, you will need to provide your authentication from the DDC. So DDC has a username and password. So in order to hit this particular endpoint from the DDC, you will need to provide the authorization. So basically this is a basic auth where you give your user ID and password of the DDC. Since it's secure, so it's going to go over as a basic auth, and then we're going to get the data. So I'm going to say leads, give me leads. There we go. We're getting the data here which says the complete stuff, whatever I showcased you. So if I want to get just this particular one, account, right, I can just say this. I get only that account. Probably I just need the sys name. So what I can do is I can always say sys underscore name. Well, I got just the sys name, and let's see if we support dollar value in V1. There we go. We can go all the way. This is what REST API is all about. You should be able to address every piece of data through an URI. So that's the REST paradigm or REST philosophy, right? So that's what we have. So now I'm going to make use of this in a ASP.NET web application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new ASP.NET web application, or new ASP.NET application. So Visual Studio, so I'm using 2015. Somebody is asking, do we support Oracle JD Edwards? So what we have told you in the chat window or in the Q&A window is like, please write back to us. We have given you all the information, the email information. Just write back to us. We'll figure this out, and then we'll help you out. So, okay, Visual Studio is doing something now. Okay, so I'm gonna say new project, and I'm going to pick up the bare minimum, whatever everybody does. That's the ASP.NET web application .NET framework. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to select MVC. So we have a question. Do we have any REST designer to help with the queries against a chosen OData? I'm not sure I understand the question. I mean, if you're looking for REST designer, typically the OData, the way it works is it's all based on specs. So if you read the OData specs at odata.org, you will know what are the things that you can do on a particular OData endpoint. For example, I talked about $select, $filter, $order by, $top, $skip. These are the things that you do on a particular endpoint, right? I'm exposing a collection, and the consumer has the capability to do anything on that collection. Just give me one item, or in the one item, just give me the column called as sysname, or in the one item, just give me the sysname, but all those things. To build a REST query to help business to build queries. Well, as far as I know, we do not have anything, and typically even the OData, you can actually build kind of a query mechanism on your own. For example, if so, it's all based on the specs, right? So you can go ahead and then create a small little UI where you say like, hey, this is the collection. What do you want to do in this collection? Do you want to filter? Do you want to select? Do you want to do order? And then you can translate that into a URI. So for example, what I'm trying to say is, so let's say you are giving somebody to design a designer, right? And then you want them to do something on the leads. You can ask them, how many records do you want? If they say, I want only 5 records, all you need to do is you just need to say top 5. So you translate that into top 5. If they say, no, I want 5 records, but I want the 5th page. So then what you will need to do is you will need to come in and then say skip. So probably you have kept 10 items per page. If they need the 3rd page, that means you will need to skip 30. I don't have 30 here, so I will say skip 10 and give me 5, assuming I have my page size is 5. So now what happens is it is giving me the 3rd page data. It has skipped 10 and it is giving me 5. So like this you will have to build on your own. It's a very easy, and I don't know if there are any designers which helps you do it. In .NET, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my C# code to do all this stuff. So that's what I'm going to showcase now. So here is a bare minimum, the blank template or the blank MVC template or the default MVC template that we have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just run this now, and we're going to get the typical, the ASP.NET MVC template coming back to us, and there we go. Control Alt Enter. Yes, I know that. So that's what it is. I'm getting the plain this one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring in couple of style sheets just to make it look good. I'll have to stop it. So let me close this guy, close this guy. So I'm going to go to content. I will say add existing item, and I already have downloaded a bootstrap called as United theme, and I'm going to do this. And also, since we are here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my layout a little bit. So what I'm gonna do in my layout is I'm gonna go here, remove this guy, and I have my own navbar, so I'm gonna bring the navbar here. So navbar is doing just a couple of bunch of things, like putting a link in all the stuff. Then I'll need to go to content, site.css. I'm gonna increase my padding top to probably 80, and let's see what happens now. Don't show this again. Yeah, there we go. So what all I did was I just created, used a bootstrap template, which gives me a pretty nice looking header in all those stuff. And in the index.html, I'm going to remove this complete stuff what we have, and then I'll try to bring in certain data from the cloud, and then let's start using that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to index.html. I'm not sure how far I can go today, but I'll show you the intention what I wanted to do. So let me stop this, and here I'm going to remove everything that we have here, and okay, so let me just go grab a couple of data. So all I've done here is used Bootstrap to put a couple of things here. So just to say how this will look like. So I'm going to start that again. Well, this is my idea of creating the, so I've just kept a bare bone templates now, right? I have the leads, accounts, opportunities, and probably revenue. We will see what it goes by. So I want to do opportunities by types. I want to do opportunities by stages, opportunities by amount, by revenue, all those things. So now, now that my base is done, so what I need to do is, how do I consume the OData within Visual Studio, right? Well, Microsoft has done a pretty fantastic job on allowing you to use this OData as a C# classes, and then all those tools. So that means they will generate a client-side code for you. They will generate the client-side C# code for you, and then you just consume that. So how do you do that, right? So first and foremost, what you will need to do is every OData, I forgot to tell you this, but every OData has something called as a metadata. So the metadata is nothing but it is going to showcase basically what are the types that this particular endpoint or this particular OData supports. So as you can see here, I issued a metadata request, so it's going to come back any moment. Not sure why it's taking this much time. Huh. Looks like our DDC is doing something in the dollar metadata. That's where our things will be. Oh, hang on. Looks like my endpoint is behaving odd. So OData lead, yes, and then I will say dollar metadata. Okay. What I've done is I've already downloaded that particular metadata. This is the metadata that's going to come back. I will say open it in Edge. Well, this is the metadata that would have come back, so I'll have to figure out what happened where I changed the my server side. But the metadata is nothing but, as you can see here, it just says, hey, the OData contains this entity called as account, this entity called as lead, and each row, what is it, like a string, whatever, it's completely said here, and then it also has all the foreign keys that they have. Basically, it's a type definition. and this is how the collections are, association set, in all those stuff. That is all it is doing. Why? Because Visual Studio will use this to generate a C sharp, basically the C sharp classes to give me the client side libraries. Otherwise I would have to write, I would have to do a raw REST in invocations, right? I don't want to do that. So now what I can do is I can come back here, right click, and go to add, and this particular icon here which says connected service, that has always been there. Not many people know about this, but this connected service is a fantastic way of quickly generating client-side code for anything like Azure AD or Azure Storage or Office 365 API, and they have OData generator also. So OData connected service, OData connected service for V1 to V4. So now all I need to do is I will need to say configure, and it is asking me, hey, what is the service name? So I'm going to say SFDDC, and it is asking me enter your endpoint. So there are a couple of ways to do it. Since my endpoint, that is the OData that I created, is a secured endpoint, not anybody can just go in and then ping that, because remember, I need to pass this the headers, that is the username and password, to my OData, because it is a secured OData. So for that, this particular dialog box cannot go and then do that, because they have not given a concept of entering username and password, but they do allow you to go validate yourself and then download the metadata, store it as an XML or whatever format, and then come back here and then give this. Notice here, I have stored the XML in one of my local paths. So now I'm going to say, hey, here's the metadata, can you please generate the classes for me? So I'm going to say next. He's asking me what should be the file name. I will say sfddc, and then just say finish. The moment I do this finish, he's going to generate the complete C# classes that I require. So okay, so notice here in my Visual Studio it says service references sfddc connected service.json, and then this is the class file. So let me show you the class file. So this is gnl sfds, so that's basically the name of the OData data source that I've created on Datadirect Cloud. It has picked up that one, and then sforce is the schema, and then I have this many objects: account, lead, opportunity. Remember, we exposed only these three, and then I've got those three. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly drop a file here. Basically, I'm going to create a simple class file here. I'm going to say this is add a class sfconfig. So I don't want to keep writing every time my base URI, all those things. So I'm going to say public static class. So basically, I've kept the username, password, all those things. So now what I can do is I can come back to my home controller, and also I will do another important, simple class. I'll call it as lead leads helper. So this leads helper, all it is going to do is I'll show you how to consume it. There you go. So I have created a leads helper, and then I have the created a static method called as count. And how do you now communicate with the OData we just created? Well, as simple as this. Remember the sforce object that got created by the OData connected service dialog? Well, this is what it is. So here is my the object. We call it as a data service context, and it needs to know where to go and then ping it, right? So I'm giving the URI. The URI is nothing but this particular URI that we saw in the Postman, so which is service.datadirectcloud.com/API/OData/GNL SFDS. So that's the URI, and then of course we need to provide a credential, because remember our OData on Datadirect Cloud is secured by username and password. So it's going over HTTPS basic authentication, and that is all I need to do. I just need to say, hey, I want to know how many leads are there in my system. Well, I just have to say context.leads.count, and it's going to come back to me. So what I'm going to do is go to controllers, home controller, and here I'm going to create a JSON result. I will say public JSON result, no, JSON result, and let's say we say lead count, right? And then here all I'm going to do is I'm going to say where lead count is equal to leads or leads helper dot count. That's it. And then I will say return new or return JSON result. I will say new count colon lead count. Oh. And then I just need to say JSON request behavior is dot allow get, because typically it will say like, hey, you're trying to do a illegal activity, so I cannot get that. So I will say new JSON result of okay, why are you what did I make? JSON result. Oh, sorry, not JSON result. My bad. So it's just written the JSON, and in the JSON I'm saying new count is equal to lead count. JSON request behavior is allow get. So now what I can do is I can just go here and then run this. So now the site is going to come up. What I can do is when the site is up, I can go back to probably the Postman, and then I can now say home. Remember in MVC, I mean I'm created an ASP.NET MVC application, and in MVC application what happens is you have a controller, that's the home controller, and then I have created lead count, that's the endpoint. Right, so now take a look at this. I get count colon 22, right? That means I'm now here somewhere in India. This is my laptop, probably this is on premise. I have connected to Datadirect Cloud Salesforce connector, and it went to my Salesforce, which is somewhere in the Salesforce servers, and then got back the data, right? So like this, what we can do is we can pretty much go ahead, do a lot of other things. So let me quickly go ahead. In the interest of the time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, create a, well, we'll see how to take this and then put it onto the page, right? So what I'm going to do is I will bring in Kendo UI now, because that's is what we're going to be looking at for the data visualization in all those things. So I'm going to probably come in here to content, and I will create a new folder, and I will call it Kendo. And what I need is inside this guy I will need the add existing item, and then I'll go to I've already downloaded Kendo UI. Kendo UI is a HTML5 based JavaScript UI library. It provides you a lot of widgets. So we have data visualization widgets, web widgets, and all the stuff. In the interest of the time, I'm just bringing everything. Then I will go to scripts, create a new folder here, and I will say Kendo, and I will say add existing item. And in the interest of the time, I'm just going to bring in everything. You don't have to bring in everything. You just have to bring in only one file or two files, depending on what it is. But in the interest of the time, I'm just bringing everything. And then I have to go to the layout, and I'll have to add references to that particular thing. So in the top, we're going to add reference to, let's create a link tag, and the relation is style sheet, then href is equal to content kendo kendo.common bootstrap, because I've used the bootstrap theme. And then I can come in here and say I need a bootstrap.min.css, and I can go bottom here, and before the render section I can say script tag, and in the script src, in the script tag src, I'm going to do scripts, and then kendo, and then kendo.all.min.js. So that is all is required for kendo. So now what I can do is I can come back to my index.html. Let me quickly show you what we can do. So I will say section scripts, and I will have to create a script tag. So here's what we can do. Let me show you a kendo button. So probably I'm going to put a kendo button here. So I'll say button, and I'm going to give it a K button, and I will say class KM or K primary. Okay, and on page load, I'm going to do document ready. So I will say document dot ready function. Right, and then here all I need to do is I can either say like this. I will do kendo dot init document dot body. So now I can come back to on the top, and I can say data dash bind is equal to, or sorry, data dash role is equal to button. That's it. So now Kendo's engine knows that, oh, I need to convert this into a Kendo button, and then it will convert that. So let me quickly run this and see what happens. So the page is getting rendered now at any moment. Oh, I missed to say, like, we will say Kendo UI button. Control Alt Enter, and it will refresh. That's the Kendo UI button. As you can see, this is using Bootstrap theme now, so it's looking bootstrappy now. I've used the Kendo Bootstrap theme, so we still need one more break. There you go. So that's Kendo UI button, and then I can bring in any number of controls of Kendo UI like this. So we already have leads. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna create a view model now. So let me increase the font size a little bit. So here now I can come in here where VM is equal to kendo dot observable, and notice Visual Studio is great because it gives me IntelliSense for even Kendo, and I will say lead count. Probably I'll keep it at 0, and then I can create an init method here, and in the init method I can say function so I'll do a comma here, and then in the init method what we can do is we can do $.get.json. What is it? So our URI is /home/lead count, and I can do then, and I will need where that is equal to this, or okay, we'll use the bind function. So we will say then I will do a function, and this is what it is, and I will say bind this, meaning I want to get the same context. So here now it's going to be giving me the response, right? So response and console.log response. I'll just spit out the response as is for now, and I will need to call this function. So I will say kendo.bind document.body, and then I will say VM. So take the VM and then call that. So now what I can do is, notice here there is a leads and then it says X, right? So now I can come in here and then do data binding now, or MEVM data binding now. So what I can do is I can say data dash bind H1 has a text property, so bind the text property to lead count on the VM, the view model. So notice here in the view model, the VM, I have lead count, and all I'm saying is yeah, bind that to the lead count. So probably we'll just do that. We'll do the console log also, and now I can say this dot set. I'm making a lot of typing mistakes today. I can say lead.count, and then remember in the response I have a count property, so I can just say response.count, and then at runtime it goes, it executes, comes back, and then gets the data, and then just do that. So now all I need to do is I'll need to do vm.init, right? And let's come back, or let's do a control alt enter. So if my coding is right, what we should see in leads is it's blank now, it is 0, and then in some moment it would go 22. So there you go. There are 22 leads in my system as of now, right? So now let's quickly, I hope you understand what I can do. So now I can do accounts, opportunities, revenue, you know, all those things where I can do the same thing. Quickly, I want to go do this opportunities by types, and then probably create one simple chart here. So let's quickly jump into that. So what I'm going to do is stop it and go to my models folder, and then I will add a new class file. I'll call it as opportunities helper. And here we will do the opportunity count. So this is going to be public static. It's going to be a static class. You know, I just kept it as static, you know, for the interest of the demo. Otherwise you will normally do a object and then all those things. So I'm getting the count, so I don't want to, okay, I can call the count and then show it, that's not a problem, but I want to do this opportunities by types. So what I've done is, I need extensions for this guy. Yeah, I need the extension, so let me get that extension. So basically I'm using an extension method to do the async await on this. So I will create a new class. I will call it as data service async extensions. It's available on the GitHub. I think somebody from the Microsoft has you know, created this. So now we will show this. Yes, so I just have to threading the task. This is going to be system, okay, group data. So I need that model now. Add new class. So I just created a POCO class here called as group data, so that I can there you go. It's just a generic class where it says, like, you know, what kind of data. So there's a text and a value thing coming up. I will need to come in here and then qualify using system.data.service.client.async. So the extension method is inside that particular thing. So let me explain you what I'm doing here. I hope till here it is very clear, right? So what I'm doing is I go and then get the opportunities. So at this moment there are only around 32 opportunities in the system, and we have set a paging of around 100 or so. So that means it's going to give me this the 100. I can change that and all this stuff, but I'm getting the opportunities, and then I want to group it by type and then know how many opportunities are there per type. So that is what I'm doing. So this is what's very good in you know, C#, right? So I go, I execute, I get the data, and then I do a to list, and then I do the grouping, group by the type, and I'm just doing a select the group, and then notice here I'm adding the text, and then the value is nothing but how many are there in that particular on that particular type, right? That's the idea. So now let's go back to home controller, and then I'm going to create a pretty similar thing, and now I can do a sync of task JSON result, and then I can say opportunity types, and here I can do opportunities helper dot opportunity by types. I can do await, right? And then I will need to qualify this task. So let's see, opportunity by type is an async. Yeah, so I'm awaiting for that. So I will get back the group data of int, and then I can just send that as is. So there's no need of this anonymous. I can do a lead, sorry, this is going to be opportunity types. And that's it. So now what I've done is I've typically created a data, got the data from Salesforce, did a grouping on it in my ASP.NET application, and then I'm now sending the group data. So let me show you. I'll execute this in Postman, and then you will see how neatly the JSON comes back. So let it load the page. Okay, there's the page. So now when I come back here and then I do home/op types and do a send. So now it's going, and then there we go. So we are getting text no type. So there are 3 records which does not have any type. There is 1 record which is of the type existing customer replacement. There are 20 items which are existing customer upgrade. There are 8 items which are new customer. So now I can take this and then create it as a, let me show you this. So this table that you are seeing, well, I can create the table very easily. So I'll go back here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say opportunity types is equal to new kendo.data source, right? And then here, come in here and then do just the bare minimum things. What are the bare minimum things? Well, I need to let it know where to go and then get the data. So transport read URL. So where should it go? Well, it has to go to /home/op types. That's all it is, right? Now I can come in here to the place where the table was, and I can actually remove the whole table, and I can do this. I'll put a div here, and I will say data-role is equal to grid. I'm going to take probably 5 more minutes, and then data-bind source : this is going to be, what did we say, opportunity types, right? So let's see what happens with this guy. So I'm going to do Control Shift F5. Yeah, I need to tell what columns it has to. Oh, there we go. We got the table. As you can see here, text, value, number of types 3, existing customer replacement 1, existing customer upgrade 20, new customer 8. Now it is very easy for me to go and then create a basic, the chart, right? So what I'm going to do is, now I will show you the power of Kendo. I have created only one data source, but that data source can be bound to the table or for a chart. So let me quickly show you the chart. Or probably I'm going to show you here the demos that we have, and then we'll just go right from there. So demos.telerik.com/kendo-ui. So I'm going to pick up a bar chart. So here's the bar chart. I want the bar chart like this. So notice here we have an MVVM way of doing things. So this is an MVVM way of doing things. So what I'm going to do is, if you see here, it says data-role chart, and then it just needs to know the bind. So let's go ahead with that. So first I'm going to do, so where should we place it? We'll place it here. So I'm going to say div data-role is equal to chart, and I also need to do data-bind is equal to source : opportunity types. So after that, what we'll need to do is we will need to say the series, and then I will also need to say the data series default. So I will keep this guy to bar. So let me paste this guy, and then I will say, instead of the column, I don't want a column because column is not going to fill up there. So I will need a bar here. And what else I need? I need a series. Well, I don't need the 3 series, right? So I have only 1 series in this case. So what I'm going to do is I will say field is going to be text, and name will be opportunities, and I don't have this many series. Well, that's it. And then events visible. Yeah, I think we're good to go. So now we should see, if everything is correct, we should see the data coming back here. So the table will come up, the opportunities are coming up. So what happened? So what do I have? Let's take a look at, yeah, the text is there. Oh, sorry, I made the mistake. So here the series is not bound to the name, but rather it's the value, wherever the value is, right? So I'm going to do this again. So it's going to refresh. and we have the bar coming up, right? Notice here, so the bar chart or bar series is coming. So I can actually probably do something which is style, height will be probably 200 pixel. I don't need too many things. There you go, neatly put up, right? So what I can do is I can move the legend to the top. What is happening is the legend is kind of coming this one, so it says bottom here. So what I'm going to do is I will place the legend to the top, and we just refresh this guy, and then probably what we should do is we'll go pick up a pie chart, and we'll also put that pie chart here. So I'm going to probably take a couple of minutes and then finish this off, just to I want to do a logical conclusion. Where do we have the pies? Yeah, the pie is here. And notice here, now I have the opportunities going on the top. I can come in here and then create a category axis. So probably I'll do that. So I can show the category axis here, and then say that, hey, this category, this particular series is belonging to this particular category, the opportunity name. Notice in the data, we are getting this existing customer, no type, existing customer upgrade, new customer. So I can show that there. Now let's see how to do MVVM way of the pie chart to the same data source, right? So I'm going to go, so it says data-role chart. So probably I'll copy this as is and then go to the middle panel, and what I need to say is data series defaults type is pie. So I'm going to do pie, and legend is going to be top. So now this has a different way. The field, it needs field and category field. So I will need to do data series like this, copy this, come back here. I've gone this route of looking at our demo and then showing you. I want to make sure that when you start doing stuff, it is as easy as this. Field is going to be value. Category field probably is the text, and then that's it. And then source events, and then data series title. Yeah, so let's see what happens with this guy now. Control Alt and enter. So the data is coming up, and we should see the pie and the grid pie. Oh, there we go. So that's what I wanted to finish, right? I got the as you can see here, it says no type, existing customer upgrade, new customer. So we can probably now do this guy to the right. It looks for the pie chart, it looks good on the right. So let me do that. There you go. So we have created successfully, brought the data from Salesforce into ASP.NET, and from ASP.NET into Kendo UI. Kendo UI has this grid, fantastic grid for Kendo UI. So it shows the data in a grid format, and then I was able to create a pie chart for the same data, and then opportunities for the same data. And I could do the same thing for stages. Probably, I can go and then say, hey, group by stages, and then get the data and then put it here. So I hope you get the idea here. Let me show you one of the pre-built demos that I have, which I was trying to showcase. So that was built in Node.js, but doesn't matter. It's the data that we bring. The data that we are bringing is from the the DDC, the Datadirect Cloud. So it's at work space, and then cd git space, and then cd pro x event, and then I can do npm start. And this is an example built using Node.js. So I just wanted to showcase, even in ASP.NET MVC, it's much more easier. So there you go. This is a completely, I spent some time, built it very neatly, put up all the colors, made all the style sheets or anything. It's the same data, right? Let me show you. So let me stack it side by side maybe. And There you go. So it's the same data. One is using Bootstrap, the other one is using the material design on the right, Bootstrap on the left, and then notice here we have pretty much the graph is very responsive, and then it automatically fills up the area that you're seeing. If somebody is coming from a tablet, notice here the grid is responsive. It has automatically filled up the area that is available. The pie chart has filled its area. The graph here, the bar graph here has filled its area. So it's the same data, right? No type, existing customer, upgrade, new, all those stuff. So I just wanted to showcase that, yeah, so you can build pretty things like this using our tools, Kendo UI, a HTML5 based, JavaScript UI framework, Datadirect Cloud. Without writing any code, you can actually connect to any database or any data stores that you can think of. Anand talked about Salesforce, Eloqua, you name it. It's a bunch of things that we can connect to, and you can build pretty things like this if you make use of our control. So that was the main idea for us today, to showcase you all our tools and how you can do these cool things. I hope you got an idea as to what we have to offer in terms of your web application or data connectivity, all those things. Thank you very much for being a good audience today, and I'm going to stop recording and then get on to the question and answers. And thank you, Anand, for the DDC piece. And we hope you will join us for our future webinars too.